The Kytharian ship hovered above Earth's blue surface. Bright oceans stretched far below. White clouds drifted slowly, casting shadows on green lands. Inside the ship, Commander Kryvar stood at the viewport. His eyes scanned the planet's vibrant beauty. He remembered a day long ago. A day that changed everything. Decades before, the Kytharians found a dying human on a distant battlefield. The soldier's name was David Foster. The Kytharians saved his life without asking for anything in return. That moment planted a seed of hope between two very different species. Now, Kryvar wondered if humanity still remembered. Meanwhile, in the ship's dim control room, Kytharian studied the Earth from a glowing screen. The scientist's eyes flicked over cities lighting up like tiny stars. Kytharian's mind raced with questions. Why did Earth have a quarantine zone? Why were humans so secretive? The Kytharians had always followed strict rules. They avoided contact with humans beyond the quarantine. The zone kept Earth isolated. No one knew what dangers lurked inside. Many feared the unknown. Yet, Kryvar felt a pull to understand. Suddenly, the ship's alarms beeped sharply. The sensors detected movement below. Out came images of armed humans. Soldiers in green uniforms marched through a dusty plain. At their head, a woman commanded with steady eyes. She was Maya Pike, Earth's human commander. Kryvar's mind turned back to David Foster. Foster had spoken of Maya once. She held the same fierce spirit, the same loyalty to her people. Kryvar wondered if she knew the old story, the story of a life saved without reward. Outside, the wind whispered over the plains. The scent of dry earth mixed with fresh pine from distant forests. The landing zone lay just beyond the horizon. The Kytharian ship descended slowly. Its engine hum softened as it neared the ground. Kryvar felt the weight of history in the silence. Below, Maya Pike inspected the perimeter. Her boots crunched on gravel. She smelled the sharp tang of metal and dust. Her gaze met the sky, where the alien ship cast a faint shadow. She thought about the quarantine zone, about the rules that kept her people locked in safety, and about the debt humanity owed. The ship touched down with a soft thud. The hatch opened, releasing cool, recycled air. Kryvar stepped out, his armor gleaming under the sun. Kytharian followed closely, eyes wide with curiosity. The humans waited, tense but watchful. Kryvar remembered the promise made long ago, the promise of peace. The memory of saving one life now echoed louder than ever. It was a fragile bond, one that could save two worlds, or break them apart. The wind stirred once more. It carried the sounds of cautious footsteps, the beginning of a meeting that would change everything. The moment when aliens learned why Earth had a quarantine zone, and why humanity still remembered the debt. The Kytharian ship hovered quietly above Earth's surface. Clouds drifted slowly beneath their viewports. Kryvar stood at the front, eyes fixed on the green and blue planet below. He felt a strange mix of awe and concern. The atmosphere seemed calm, but he knew better. This world held secrets. Kytharian joined him, carrying a small device that looked like a scanner. He moved with careful steps, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "Commander," Kytharian said, voice low but steady, "we are about to learn why Earth has a quarantine zone. Prepare yourself." Kryvar nodded silently, his thoughts racing. The Kytharians had never feared a world before. They had faced deadly storms, toxic gases, and brutal predators. But Earth was different. It carried something deeper, something unseen. As the ship descended, the sensors suddenly lit up. Alerts blinked in red and yellow. The air outside buzzed with energy. Kytharian's device beeped urgently. "Biological signals are complex," he whispered. "Humans are a puzzle." The ship's hatch opened smoothly. A rush of fresh air swept inside. It smelled earthy and rich, filled with the scent of damp soil and growing plants. Kryvar took a deep breath. Despite the danger, he felt a strange pull toward this place. Maya Pike and David Foster waited below, standing near a small cluster of trees. Their faces showed cautious welcome. Maya's eyes scanned the skies as if expecting trouble. David gripped his weapon loosely, muscles tense. Kryvar stepped out, his tall frame casting a shadow on the soft ground. The grass felt almost alive beneath his boots. The air hummed with quiet life. Birds chirped in the distance, and leaves rustled in a gentle breeze. Suddenly, a sharp crack broke the calm. A small animal darted through the bushes, disappearing into the undergrowth. Maya's gaze sharpened. "Stay alert," she said quietly. "This place tests you." Kryvar studied the humans closely. Their skin was pale but tough, marked with scars and dirt. Their eyes held a steady fire, not fear. It was as if they had seen storms and come out stronger. Thixolan bent down, scanning the ground. "Their biology is unique," he murmured. "Cells regenerate fast. Immune responses are rapid. They survive harsh conditions daily." Kryvar felt a chill. The humans' resilience was not luck. It was a hard-earned gift, something their ancestors passed down, forged through pain and struggle. Meanwhile, the wind shifted. A faint hum filled the air, like a distant song. Kryvar felt it under his skin, a vibration not natural to machines or simple creatures. It was life, raw and wild. The humans led them deeper into the forest. Trees towered overhead, their branches weaving a thick canopy. Light filtered through in soft, golden beams. The ground was uneven, dotted with roots and moss. David moved ahead, scouting silently. His eyes caught every movement. He paused, crouched low, and signaled the group. A clear path lay ahead, but it was lined with thorny bushes that looked sharp enough to tear flesh. Kryvar reached out and touched a leaf. It was rough, coated with tiny hairs. He felt the pulse of life in its veins. Earth was alive in ways the Kytharians had never seen, not just with movement or sound, but with resistance. Thexolan's device beeped again, louder this time. He pointed toward a small clearing. In the center sat a human camp, simple but sturdy. Fires smoldered, and the smell of cooked food mixed with the scent of earth. Maya approached the fire, eyes steady. "We'll live with danger every day," she said softly. "But we survive because we adapt. Because we fight back." Kryvar studied her face. It was lined with fatigue and hope. There was pride there, too. The humans did not shrink from pain or loss. They faced it head on. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the air. A figure stumbled from the trees, clutching his arm. Blood seeped through torn fabric. David rushed forward, helping the injured man. "Wolf attack," he said grimly. The group moved quickly, surrounding the fallen human. The wound looked deep, but the man's breathing was steady. Maya tore a strip from her shirt and wrapped the arm tightly. "We have to get him back," she said. Kryvar watched carefully. He felt a growing respect. These humans healed themselves with their own hands. Their bodies refused to give in. They fought the wild, and the wild fought back. Thixolan scanned the injured man. "Healing rates exceed expectations," he noted. "Cell repair mechanisms are advanced. This species is built for survival." Kryvar's mind raced. Why had the Kytharians marked Earth as dangerous? The answer was not just in the creatures or the plants. It was in the humans themselves. Meanwhile, dark clouds gathered overhead. Thunder rumbled softly in the distance. Rain began to fall, cool and steady. The group gathered under a large tree, water dripping from broad leaves. Kryvar felt the weight of the moment. The planet tested all who lived on it. It demanded strength and resilience. The humans met this challenge every day. They thrived where others might perish. Maya looked up at the storm. "This is home," she said simply. "We don't choose safety. We choose to survive. And we never forget those who helped us." Kryvar nodded slowly. The first revelation sank deep into his soul. Earth was not just a place to quarantine. It was a furnace that forged life in fire and pain. Thixolan's voice broke the silence. "Why must rethink our approach? The humans carry something the galaxy needs. Their survival is their power." As the rain fell harder, Kryvar felt a spark of hope. The Kytharians had saved one human life long ago. Now, they were learning why that life mattered. The quarantine was not just a shield against danger. It was a reminder of resilience beneath the skin. A promise that life, no matter how fragile, could endure. The day the aliens learned why Earth had a quarantine zone was just beginning. And with it, a new chapter in their shared story. The air inside the command center hummed softly. Flickering lights cast long shadows across the sleek consoles. Kryvar stood near the viewport, watching the dark planet below. Earth looked calm, almost peaceful from orbit. But Kryvar knew better. This world had secrets buried deep, buried in its very soul. Thixolin adjusted his goggles as he bent over a glowing panel. The scientist's slender fingers danced across the controls. Data streamed in from every sensor aboard their ship. Patterns blinked and twisted in strange ways. Something was not right. Suddenly, the ship's alarm blared. A harsh, urgent sound that cut through the quiet. Kryvar's heart tightened. The sensors had detected movement below. Fast, organized movement. The same humans they had saved long ago. Kryvar remembered that day. A lone human had begged for help. They showed no fear despite their world's dangers. That human had a strong mind, stronger than any Kryvar had seen. Meanwhile, the ship began to descend closer to the surface. The thick clouds hung low, heavy with rain. The air smelled of wet earth and distant fire. Lightning flashed in the distance. The humans were gathering below, forming lines and walls. Thixolin's voice broke the silence. "Commander, their minds, they resist our scans. It's unlike anything we've seen." His excitement mixed with fear. The Kytharians prided themselves on their mental probes. They could read thoughts, fears, even memories. But this human mind pushed back. Through the viewport, Kryvar watched a small group of humans approach the landing site. Their armor glinted in the dim light. Weapons ready, but not aggressive. Their leader moved with calm authority. That had to be Myopike. The ship's engines slowed as it touched down gently on a cracked patch of earth. The ground shuddered under the weight, kicking up dust and dead leaves. Outside, the wind wailed like a lost spirit. Kryvar stepped down the ramp first. The cold air hit his skin. It smelled of ash and something bitter, like burnt metal. The humans waited silently, watching every move. Myopike met Kryvar halfway. Her eyes were sharp, steady. Just a quiet confidence. Kryvar felt a strange respect grow inside him. Behind Maya, David Foster scanned the surroundings with tense eyes. His grip tightened on his rifle. The humans clearly expected trouble. But Kryvar's mission was simple: learn why Earth had a quarantine zone. Thixolin followed, carrying a small device that pulsed with soft blue light. "This will help us understand," the scientist whispered. "If they allow it." Maya nodded once, signaling her soldiers to lower their weapons slightly. The tension eased, but not completely. Kryvar could feel the weight of centuries of history pressing down on them all. They moved toward an old stone building nearby. It had once been a school, now broken and empty. Vines crept over shattered windows. Inside, dust hung thick in the air, disturbed only by their footsteps. Kryvar's gaze fell on a faded mural. It showed humans helping aliens in battle. The irony was not lost on him. The very species they thought primitive had saved them once. Suddenly, a low hum filled the room. Thixolin raised his device. The blue light grew brighter, casting eerie shapes on the walls. "We're scanning for mental imprints," Thixolin explained. "Memories, emotions, anything left behind." Kryvar closed his eyes briefly. He reached out with his mind, trying to connect. But the human's mental shield was strong. Like a fortress made of stone and fire. Maya stepped forward, her voice steady. "You want to know why Earth is quarantined?" Kryvar nodded. She took a breath and began. "Because of the mind. Not because we want to hurt, but because we cannot stop ourselves." The room seemed to grow colder. The weight of her words sank deep. "Your scans miss the core," she said. "We are not just strong. Our thoughts can break barriers, shatter control. We do not forget." Thixolin's eyes widened. "You mean your mental defenses are conscious?" Maya nodded. "Our minds fight back. And inside those walls, there is a storm waiting to break free." Kryvar felt a shiver run down his spine. The humans had warned them. The quarantine was not just about disease or war. It was about the mind's power. Suddenly, the building trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. A distant roar echoed through the broken streets. David glanced toward the window. Something is coming. Something big. Outside, the sky darkened further. Lightning struck nearby, cracking the earth with sudden force. Kryvar took a deep breath. He felt the old fear creeping in. The fear of the unknown. But then he looked at Maya. At the human standing firm beside her. They were not just survivors, their minds unyielding as steel. Thexolin adjusted his device again. "We have much to learn," he said quietly. "If we want to survive, we must understand why Earth carries its quarantine." Maya stepped forward, her voice calm but resolute. "This is our truth, but also our strength." The ship's sensors picked up a new signal, a pulse of energy, raw and wild. It came from deep beneath the Earth. Kryvar felt it in his bones. The mind was only the first layer. Something deeper stirred. As the rain began to fall, soft at first, then harder, Kryvar knew the real test was just beginning. The humans had shown them one secret, but many more waited in the shadows of this world. Meanwhile, the Kytharians prepared for what was next. The day the aliens learned why Earth has a quarantine zone was far from over. And the unyielding mind was only the beginning. The alien ship hovered silently above the barren Earth wasteland. The sky wore a thick, smoky veil. It filtered the weak sunlight into pale, ghostly beams. The air tasted dry and heavy. Somewhere close, a faint hum echoed. It was the distant sound of human machines at work. Kryvar stood at the ship's observation window. His many eyes scanned the scene below. The cracked Earth stretched like a broken mirror. But amid the desolation, small green shoots pushed stubbornly through the dirt. Life fought back silently but fiercely. Meanwhile, Thexolin prepared the data console. His claws danced over the controls. The ship's sensors picked up human activity in the quarantine zone. The readings showed more than survival. They revealed cooperation. Humans working side by side, sharing scarce resources, protecting each other. Kryvar felt a strange warmth grow inside. He recalled the first human they saved. That single act of kindness echoed through decades. Now, humanity's unity shone brighter than any star. Suddenly, the ship's communication panel beeped. Maya Pike's voice came through, calm but firm. She was at a remote outpost, coordinating efforts. She spoke about the strength her people gained from unity, about how they faced extinction but stood together. Kryvar listened closely. He imagined the humans' faces, marked by hardship but full of resolve. He pictured soldiers like David Foster, risking everything not just for themselves but for others. This was different from any alien culture he knew. It was raw, powerful, and deeply moving. Thexolin added, "Their bonds are not just survival tactics. They are a form of resistance against extinction." His voice held awe. "This unity is a force we underestimated." Outside, the wind stirred the ashes and dust. A sharp scent, like burnt grass mixed with hope, filled the air. Kryvar inhaled deeply. He wanted to understand more, to see this unity with his own eyes. The ship descended smoothly to a landing site near the human camp. Flames from small fires cast flickering shadows on the walls of makeshift shelters. Voices rose in song, a sound of comfort and strength. The aliens stepped onto the cracked ground. The humans greeted them cautiously but without fear. Kryvar felt the energy of the crowd. It was a mix of fatigue and fierce determination. The eyes met his with respect and a hint of curiosity. They did not see monsters. Maya approached, her boots crunching on gravel. Her face was streaked with dirt and sweat. Yet her smile was genuine. She spoke softly. "We survive because we stand together. Our past mistakes taught us the value of unity." Kryvar nodded. "We came to learn, to understand why Earth holds a quarantine zone." Maya gestured toward the camp's center. There, humans gathered around a large, glowing map. It displayed their territory and supply routes. People moved efficiently, their motions a dance of cooperation. David Foster stepped forward. He spoke about the countless lives saved through teamwork, how sharing food, knowledge, and protection gave them hope. "We are weak alone," he said, "but strong united." Kryvar thought about his own people. They valued strength but prized independence. Cooperation existed but rarely reached this depth. The humans' unity was both surprising and inspiring. Suddenly, a child ran past, chased by laughter. His bright eyes held innocence untouched by war or decay. The scene struck Kryvar deeply. It was a reminder of what they fought to protect. Thexolin studied the camp's technology next. Makeshift devices powered by scavenge parts, yet cleverly adapted to serve many needs. The innovation rose from shared knowledge. No one hoarded secrets. Kryvar realized unity was not just emotional. It turned scarcity into opportunity. Meanwhile, a sudden storm rolled over the horizon. Dark clouds blanketed the sky. The wind howled, pushing hard against the shelters. The humans reacted quickly. They secured their gear, helped the elderly, and comforted young ones. No one was left behind. Kryvar watched in amazement. This was living unity. Not just words, but action. The storm tested their bonds. When the storm passed, a quiet calm returned. The sun peeked through clouds, casting warm light over the camp. A rainbow arched softly in the sky. It was a symbol of hope. Kryvar turned to Thexolin. We must share this story, not just with our people, but with all beings. The strength of unity saved these humans. Thexolin nodded. They remind us that survival is more than fighting. Caring, Maya approached again. Who owe you thanks for saving that one life? That spark lit a fire that never died. Kryvar felt pride mixed with humility. It was a moment of true understanding. The quarantine zone was not just a prison. It was a crucible where humanity forged its greatest strength, unity. The humans invited the aliens to join their evening circle. Fires danced and voices rose in song once more. Kryvar and Thexolin sat quietly, absorbing the warmth. The unity here was real. It was fragile but unbreakable. It was humanity's greatest weapon and shield. As night deepened, the stars appeared. Kryvar felt the loneliness of space ease. He remembered the faces he saw today. Faces of hope, courage, and unity. He knew the aliens had judged Earth too quickly before. Now they saw the truth beneath the quarantine zone. Not a mark of shame, but a sign of strength. Thexolin whispered, "This lesson will change everything." Kryvar smiled. "Yes, it will." Together they looked up at the stars. The same stars that watched over Earth's struggle. The same stars that now witnessed a new understanding. The strength of unity was the third revelation. It was the key to survival, to hope, and to the future. And it belonged to the humans. The ship's engines hummed softly as they prepared to leave. Kryvar took one last look at the camp, a place where, despite all odds, life and hope thrived. The aliens ascended, carrying this new truth into the stars. The quarantine zone was no longer a warning, a promise that even in darkest times, unity could light the way. The quarantine wall stood silent, a wide scar cutting through the land. It stretched far and wide, a line between safety and danger. The Kytharian ships hovered above, their sleek forms dark against the rust-red sky. Inside the human camp, tension crackled like electricity. Kryvar gripped the railing of his ship's observation deck. His eyes scanned the scene below. The humans worked quickly, setting up barriers and medical stations near the wall. The air smelled sharp and cold. Smoke from fires mixed with the faint scent of earth and metal. Suddenly, alarms blared from the control tower. Thexolin's voice crackled over the comms. "Commander Kryvar, the quarantine sensors detect movement. Something is coming through." Kryvar's heart pounded. He stared down at the wall. A part of it shimmered oddly, like heat rising in a desert. Then, with a sudden crack, the barrier flickered and cracked open. From the breach, a dark shape lunged forward. It moved with wild speed, limbs jerking like a broken machine. The Kytharian soldiers scrambled into position, weapons raised. The humans tightened their formations, faces grim. Maya Pike stood firm beside David Foster. She shouted orders, her voice steady but urgent. "Hold the line! Do not let it reach the camp!" The creature burst through the gap. Its skin looked wet and slimy, reflecting the dim light. It snarled, a sound like metal scraping stone. The ground trembled beneath its heavy steps. Meanwhile, the Kytharian troops fired. Laser blasts cut through the air, striking the beast's thick hide. But it barely flinched. It charged again, smashing a human barricade to splinters. David leapt forward, firing rapidly. His bullets found weak spots in the creature's armor like skin. Still, it pressed on, driven by some fierce, blind hunger. Kryvar clenched his fists. This was no ordinary breach. The quarantine zone was made to hold back things like this. Yet, here it was, breaking free. Thexolin appeared beside him, eyes wide with fear. "It's adapting too fast." The biofilters are failing. He pointed to the screen. The readings flickered wildly. In the chaos, a second creature emerged. Smaller, but no less vicious, it darted between soldiers, snapping and clawing. Humans screamed as it tore through their ranks. Maya saw the second beast and moved to intercept. She raised her rifle, steadying her breath. Her eyes burned with determination. Suddenly, from the shadows, a third figure appeared. It was human, but different. Covered in tattered armor, with wild eyes and a feral grin. David's breath caught. "That's one of ours," he muttered. The figure lunged, not at the invaders, but at the humans. It was a human infected by the quarantine's curse. A living nightmare turned against them.
Maya shouted, "Watch out! Don't hesitate!"
Her voice cut through the panic. Soldiers regrouped, focusing fire on the rogue human. It howled in pain, but pressed on relentlessly. Meanwhile, Kryvar's mind raced. The quarantine was breaking down from inside. The infection was spreading fast. They needed a new plan, and fast. He barked orders into the comms.
"Activate the pulse shields!"
"Seal the breach at all costs!" Thexolan scrambled to his console, fingers flying. The ship hummed with energy as the pulse shields powered up. A blue glow pulsed along the wall's edges. The creatures shrieked as the shields sparked against their bodies. One staggered back, smoke rising from its skin. The infected human faltered, snarling in frustration. But the breach held only briefly. The pulse shield flickered, then dimmed. The system was overloaded. Sparks flew from the control panels. Kryvar gritted his teeth. One need manual intervention. Teams Alpha and Beta, prepare for ground insertion. Seal the breach physically. Maya nodded sharply. "We're ready." David checked his gear, heart hammering. They moved toward the broken wall, weapons at the ready. The ground beneath them was cracked and scorched. The air reeked of burning flesh and ozone. The creatures circled like predators, sensing a trap. The infected human snarled nearby, his eyes glowing faintly with unnatural light. As the teams approached, a sudden roar echoed from the breach. More creatures poured through, twisted and hungry. The sky darkened with their shapes. Gunfire echoed, punctuated by roars and screams. Dust rose in thick clouds, choking the air. The ground shook with each impact. Maya ducked behind a shattered pillar, firing steadily. She felt every shot, every movement. Time seemed to slow, but the fight never ceased. David tackled a creature lunging at him. They crashed to the ground, claws and fists colliding. He felt sharp teeth graze his arm, pain flaring. Meanwhile, Kryvar coordinated from above. His voice was calm but urgent. "Focus on the breach point. We must close it before more come through." Thexolan worked feverishly to repair the pulse shield. Sweat dripped down his face. Sparks flew as he rewired the control panel. Suddenly, a bright flash lit the night. The pulse shield sparked back to life, stronger than before. A wave of energy surged from the wall. The creatures screamed, thrown back violently. The infected human hissed, stumbling as the wave hit him. The breach began to close, the shimmering light folding inward. A giant metallic door slid down, sealing the gap. Silence fell like a heavy blanket. The only sounds were ragged breaths and distant crackling fires. Maya lowered her rifle slowly. Her body trembled from adrenaline. David slumped beside her, wounds burning but alive. Kryvar exhaled deeply. The quarantine held for now. Thexolan wiped his brow. "We did it. The quarantine is intact again." But Kryvar knew this was only the beginning. The creatures had tested their defenses. They had found weakness. He looked down at the scarred land. Blood and fire marked the night. The aliens and humans stood side by side, battered but unbroken. The debt from decades ago now weighed heavier than ever. They had saved one human life. Now, that life returned the favor. The quarantine zone was broken, but so was the barrier between two worlds. Together, they would fight to hold it closed. For the future of both species. The sun dipped low behind the jagged hills. A soft orange glow spread over the valley. Kryvar stood on the ridge, watching the horizon. The air smelled of burnt metal and dry earth. The battle had ended, but the quiet felt strange. It was not the silence of defeat. It was calm, like the world was catching its breath. Meanwhile, below the ridge, human soldiers moved among the wreckage. Their faces were tired but relieved. David Foster checked his weapon one last time. Maya Pike walked beside him. Her eyes scanned the sky, alert yet hopeful. The humans had saved the Kytharians. Now, the Kytharians had a chance to return the favor. Kryvar thought about the past. Decades ago, his people had saved one human life without asking for anything. That act of kindness now echoed back. The humans risked everything to save the Kytharians. It was a circle closing, a debt repaid. Suddenly, a soft hum vibrated through the ground. Kryvar turned sharply. Thexolin approached, holding a small device. His eyes gleamed with discovery. "This will help us recover faster," he said quietly. The device emitted a gentle pulse, healing damaged systems and calming wounded soldiers. The Kytharian commander nodded. The gesture meant more than words. They would stand together, face the darkness as one. The aliens moved through the field, gently tending to the injured. The humans did the same, no longer enemies but allies. Maya looked at the Kytharian faces. She saw gratitude and pain mixed together. This war was not about hate, it was about survival. And now survival meant unity. The quarantine zone was no longer a barrier. It was a symbol of trust rebuilt. The sky darkened as stars appeared. A cool breeze whispered through the trees. It carried the scent of rain and new beginnings. Kryvar felt something shift inside him. Hope took root where fear once grew. The Kytharians could heal. Their world could thrive again. David knelt beside a wounded Kytharian soldier. He offered water and a warm smile. The alien returned it with a faint nod. Silent understanding passed between them. It was simple and real. They had shared a nightmare. Now they shared a future. A distant rumble broke the night's calm. The humans' ships prepared to leave. The Kytharians watched, their hearts heavy but full. Maya stood tall, a beacon of strength. She promised to keep the bond alive, to honor the debt that saved a people. Kryvar turned to Thexolin. The scientist's face shone with quiet pride. They had learned much from humans. Not just about technology, but about courage and kindness. Thexolin's mind raced with new ideas. Together, they would rebuild. Meanwhile, the soldiers gathered for a final moment. The air was filled with quiet respect. No words were spoken. They all knew the price paid for this peace. It was a promise made long ago. Now it was fulfilled. The first drops of rain began to fall. They tapped gently on the metal and earth. A cleansing sound, like a new beginning. Kryvar raised his hand, feeling the cool wetness. The Kytharians would no longer hide behind fear. They would face the future, hand in hand with their human friends. The night sky stretched endlessly above them. Stars twinkled like tiny fires of hope. The quarantine zone faded into memory. It was no longer a prison, it was a bridge between worlds. A reminder that even the smallest kindness could change the course of history. Kryvar's heart beat steady and calm. The past was behind them. The future was theirs to shape. Together, the Kytharians and humans would build a new world. One where fear gave way to trust, where enemies became friends. As the rain strengthened, the valley came alive with sound. Leaves rustled, rivers gurgled, and distant animals called. Life, vibrant and unstoppable, moved forward. The day the aliens learned why Earth had a quarantine was the day they found hope. And hope was enough to light the darkest night.